Hi there, I'm Jason, formerly of Animal Planet Scaled and the owner of Calgary and Edmonton Reptile Parties in Alberta, Canada. For over a decade, I've been teaching people about reptiles, amphibians, and other creepy crawlies. So join me today to go on a reptile adventure and learn about these fascinating creatures. Reptiles have become one of the most popular choices for pets. They're easy to care for, you can't be allergic to them, and they can be amazing choices. So today we're going to learn about some animals that might be a great choice for a pet and some that might require a little bit more work. This is Tabor the corn snake. Corn snakes are found in the southern United States, and they get their name because the farmers would find them in their cornfields and their corn silos and thought they were eating corn. They do not eat corn. They're there hunting for rodents. I feed him a frozen thawed mouse a couple of times a month, so a pretty low feeding schedule. Corn snakes are popular as well because they come in a lot of different colors. There's reds, oranges, yellows, violets, more colors than I can possibly list here. They're very docile. You don't often see a bitey corn snake. And they're a nice size. They're very slender, so they don't look as big as, say, a boa or a python, but stretched out, you can see Tabor actually is longer than my arm. So average would be around 3 to 4 feet. A really big corn would be probably over 5 feet, but those aren't super common. People ask why you want to have a pet snake. There's lots of reasons. For example, I don't have to walk my snake when it's minus 30 in Alberta. It's a nice benefit. They don't bark and upset your neighbors. They don't make noise at night. They don't need a litter box. They're easy to feed. They need heat, water, and heat a few times a month. In some cases, with some snakes, once a month even. So for someone who has an interest, snakes, like this corn snake, can be a great choice for a pet. And for a lot of people, a corn snake is the perfect snake. This is Crestina, the crested gecko. Crested geckos were actually thought to be extinct, but then, back in the 90s, scientists actually found them on New Caledonia, and since then they become a popular choice for a pet. And can you really blame people? Look how cute she is. She's also fully grown, so they're not a really large animal, and they are pretty easy to care for. They are an arboreal gecko. They stick with their toes, so they like to climb, so you're going to need a tall cage instead of a long cage. They actually do better at cooler temperatures. If your house is a bit cooler, you might need to add some heat, but for the most part, they're good at room temperature. You just need to mist them a few times a day, and being nocturnal, they don't necessarily need any special lighting. You can choose to have that if you're gonna have plants in there, but again, it's all sort of personal preference. But being an arboreal gecko, they like to hide, and they need lots of places to do so and lots of things to climb. So fake or real plants, lots of cork bark. A lot of people do bioactive setups with these guys where it's basically a living enclosure. So there's lots of options you can do to explore with them. But one of the things that's really great about them is I hear from parents, my kid wants a pet lizard, I don't want crickets in my house. Well, I do feed her crickets. I feed her crickets about once a week, maybe every other week, just for some extra enrichment, something to chase around and some extra protein, but they do not need them. They also will eat fruit and nectar in the wild as well as bugs, so there's actually special diets called Crested Gecko Diet, which they can eat. So it's a powder you mix with water, you make a little fruit smoothie for them, and they can survive just fine on that and thrive, and it's got all the nutrients and protein that they need. So you can really like to jump. That's one thing you got to keep in mind. You're going to have a gecko that's going to be pretty active and jumpy, but aside from that, they're cute, they're easy to care for. Crested geckos are a fantastic pet. This is Timmy the blue-tongued skink. They get their name because they have a blue tongue. They use their tongue to smell, but also the reason why their tongue is blue is because if they get scared, they'll open their mouth, hiss, and wiggle their tongue, and that is a threat to predators to leave me alone. Skinks can be an awesome choice for a pet. They do need a fair amount of space, and they do like to burrow, so you want to make sure you got them set up properly. But once they're set up, they're pretty easy to care for. They don't eat crickets. Crickets aren't really a great choice for them. They're too fast. They will eat bugs. I'll give him superworms, hornworm caterpillars, and earthworms. But they will also get like packaged snails. He likes shrimp, veggies, fruit, Eggs is really tasty to them. I give them quail eggs or whole eggs that can be scrambled up. They can also eat good quality wet dog or cat food as part of their diet, but it shouldn't be their only diet. Him being a northern blue-tongued skink, he would originally be from northern Australia, and Australia doesn't allow the export of their wildlife. He was born here in Calgary, and notice I said born because he was born alive, not hatched from an egg. Unfortunately, Indonesia does not have those same laws in place, so a lot of blue-tongued skinks coming from that part of the world are actually wild caught. Now, we do get our future generations of captive bred animals from wild caught, but those should best be left to people that are focusing on breeding and establishing captive bred populations. For someone who's getting their first pet, there can be a lot of complications with parasites, with stress, with the traveling across the world for wild caught animals. So if you're going to get a pet of some kind, one of the main questions you want to ask is it captive bred? Especially for someone getting their first or second reptile, captive bred is the way to go. This is Charlie the veiled chameleon. Instantly recognizable, chameleons are one of the most popular lizards in general on Earth. Veiled chameleons are found in Yemen. Most chameleons are found in Madagascar. And they're popular for a lot of reasons. Their physical traits, which stand out as being unique and pretty cool. Their prehensile tail, their special toes, which are modified to grip tree branches, the fact that their eyes can move in 2 different directions, and their long sticky tongue that's longer than their body that they use to catch their prey. Their other cool adaptation is the fact that they can change color. And when I ask people why chameleons change colors, they unanimously say for camouflage. It's not for camouflage. They live in trees surrounded by leaves. Their natural green coloring already has them camouflaged. And in nature, they're not going to come across colors like the black of the tablecloth, the purple of my shirt, or the brown of the wall. She is not going to just match into these colors. Instead, they use their colors to communicate. If they are angry, if they want to tell another chameleon to go away, if they're stressed out, if they're happy, all of those are things that trigger color changes in a chameleon. So, you're probably expecting me to talk about how amazing chameleons are as pets. But the fact of the matter is this falls under my not a great choice category. They are hard to care for. They need high humidity, but they also need a screen and terrarium. In a drier province like Alberta, it's really challenging to find that right balance. In places with higher humidity, like say Florida or Louisiana, some people keep them outdoors, but here in Canada, it's going to be a lot more challenging. They do not tolerate mistakes well. If there's a problem with their UV or you're not giving them enough supplementation, they can get very sick and they can go downhill really fast. And even if you do care for them properly, you have to be prepared with any kind of animal about the possibility of vet bills. Chameleons do lay eggs, and even if there's not a male present, the female will still lay. The last time she laid eggs, she actually got dirt in her eye from digging her nest and it got infected. It was swollen, it was pretty awful, and we had to take her to the vet. A minor surgery to drain the infection and some medication, and she's healthy and good to go. That vet bill, however, was $500, and I've seen people who say things like, it's more expensive to go to the vet than it is to just get a new one. That's really disheartening. When we bring an animal into our home, we're making a commitment to it to provide the best care possible, and sometimes if they get sick, that means having to go to a vet. Whether it's a 99-cent goldfish or a $1,000 high-end dog or snake, please keep that in mind that medical care is part of what you need when you get an animal. This is Ripley the red-foot tortoise. Red-footed tortoises are found in South America in the Amazon basin, and they get their name because of the red markings on their toes. Now, you can see she's had a bit of a rough go before I got her. She is a rescue, so her shell is a little deformed and misshapen at the back, and she's got quite a bit of pyramiding. The shell should actually be smooth. This comes from improper diet, improper care, improper environment. They're very resilient animals, but it shows in their shell. And unfortunately, you see a lot of turtles and tortoises that have shell issues because of improper care. Turtles and tortoises, of all the animals I have, are the most work and the most responsibility. They're very messy animals. They need a lot of space. Her home needs to be about 6 feet by 6 feet, and that's indoors. She does go outside during the summer, but obviously during the winter, she's got to be inside. And the thing is she started out, and baby turtles and tortoises start out tiny. She would have been the size of the palm of a normal person's hand. You could fit 2 baby tortoises in my hand. And they grow into this or bigger, 9 to 11 inches long for a redfoot tortoise. And there are other tortoise species that get even bigger than that. All of that combined is something you really need to look at and consider before you get one. But the biggest thing with tortoises especially is their lifespan. Redfoot tortoises can live over 50 years. There's other tortoises that can be 80, 90, even over 100 years old. So an adult or even a teenager getting a pet turtle or tortoise in some cases could be looking at their grandchildren or even great-grandchildren having to eventually care for that animal. That is a huge responsibility. So we want to make sure that we are caring for them properly and we're willing to make that commitment. The biggest issue with them is their diet. People don't feed them properly. She needs a lot of leafy greens. She needs hay, grass. She loves fruit. That's a part of her diet as well, but in small doses. So you want to make sure that you get everything together, get all the information prior to getting a shelled friend as a pet. This is Lenora the green iguana. Iguanas are found in South and Central America, and millions of them have been imported over the decades into the pet trade. When I was young, around 10 or 11, we actually went to a pet store and I saw a whole bunch of baby green iguanas climbing around in an enclosure. And my brother and I asked our parents if we could have an iguana. And they said maybe. We were disappointed when that maybe turned into a no. But it was the right choice because that pet store told us to feed it cat food. Iguanas are herbivores. They are 100% vegetarian. Their bodies are not designed to eat that much animal protein, and so that baby iguana would have passed away. Even if we had figured it out and realized that they needed leafy greens, fruit, squash, carrot, a wide variety of things to eat, we were not prepared for what we were getting into. Because iguanas get big. Average size is 3 to 5 feet, with the males getting bigger, half of which is tail. If they hit you with their tail, they can leave welts and bruises. If they bite you, you can need stitches. And even a friendly iguana like Lenora needs a huge enclosure in order to be comfortable. So people don't know what they're getting. And that cute little baby gets huge and big and scary, and they go, I don't want it anymore. Unfortunately, that leads to people abandoning them. In places like Florida, they've been able to survive, but they wouldn't survive in our Canadian winter. I actually recently adopted Lenora from someone who was a pet sitter, and someone asked them to babysit her 9 months ago and never came back. It's very sad because she is the definition of a very gentle and kind iguana. She's very inquisitive, she's friendly. I don't understand why someone would just be like, yeah, I'm just gonna sneak away and abandon her. But sometimes people do that, and sometimes that's something going on in their lives, but unfortunately, if we could just be honest as opposed to having to hurt our animals in the process, that would be far better for them and us. So iguanas, because of their size, because of their strength, because some of them can have major attitude, definitely not a great choice for a pet. This is Wash, the Hog Island boa. Hog Island boas are found in the Hog Islands off the coast of Honduras, and this is considered a small boa species. These are actually called the dwarf boas, capping out at about 5 to 6 feet. So if this is considered a small one, imagine how big the big ones get. Common boas, many of them in many boa species, get average 5 to 7 feet, but can get even bigger, 8, 9, 10 feet long. The longest boa ever was 13 feet. The girls get bigger than the boys, but you don't know how big your boa is going to get until it's done growing. They are very powerful snakes. This is all muscle. Sometimes people say to me, that's a cool snake, put it on my neck, and I say, nope. Because if they get scared, just like us, their muscles will tighten and they can actually injure you. Now, it's been long known that boas and other constricting snakes kill their prey by suffocation. But a few years ago, a study with boas actually learned that when they are squeezing their prey, that causes their prey to have a heart attack. And they are so sensitive to vibration, they can feel the heartbeat. When the heart stops beating, they know they can eat their prey. This just goes to show you we're constantly learning new things about animals, even the ones we think we know everything about. So you'll notice the main thing with our last 3 animals that makes them on the not a great choice pet is their size. That is the biggest concern with them, because all 3 of them are gentle animals, but they can be long-lived. Iguanas up to 20 years, boas over 30 years, and of course the tortoises 50 plus. They're a big commitment. So I'm not saying these are a terrible pet. I'm saying that you really need to ensure that they are the right pet, because they can be incredibly rewarding for the right owner. Whether you're a fan of snakes, lizards, or tortoises, reptiles can be really rewarding and amazing pets. But the important thing to do is your homework and research. Before bringing home an animal, whether it's got feathers, fur, or scales, you need to learn everything about it. How big it's going to get, what environment it needs, what its diet is, and how long it's going to live. And then decide, can I take care of it properly for that long? Our pets don't choose us, we choose them. Choose something you will love for its entire life.